Welcome to the Redeemer Podcast. I'm your host, Zach, and today we are starting a new series where we are highlighting and celebrating Christian education across Canada. I'm joined by Principal Doug Bean and Vice Principal Sarah Barrett as they share their experiences and story about the wonderful Munro Academy located in Sydney, Nova Scotia. If it is your first time here, make sure to like and subscribe, share with a friend, and check out some of our other episodes that explore various aspects of Redeemer, Christian education, and so much more. Thank you for making us part of your day. And with that, here we go. And we're back. Another episode of the Redeemer Podcast, starting our journey across Canada, highlighting Christian schools in every province. And today we are talking about a wonderful school in Sydney, Nova Scotia, Munro Academy. And I'm joined by none other than Munro's principal and vice principal, Doug and Sarah. Doug, Sarah, it's great to have you guys on the podcast.
Hello, Zach. Thanks so much. We're excited to be here.
Yeah. So, let's dive right into it. The purpose of this series is we want to highlight and celebrate Christian education in Canada. There's so many cool things happening within the Christian education world here in Canada. And so we want to, celebrate that. So that's why we do episodes like this. And let's start. So Munro Academy, it's in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Let's maybe start there. Doug, could you talk a little bit about, first off, where is Sydney, Nova Scotia for any of our listeners who don't know? And how did your school get started in Sydney?
Yeah, great question, Zach. So as this is kind of a trip across Canada, I just want to put a plug in for people coming to beautiful Cape Breton Island. So we're located in the industrial heart of Cape Breton Island. And Cape Breton is a beautiful island, about 120,000 people on the island here. Beautiful golf courses. We've got the Cape Breton Highlands National Park, Fortress Louisburg. It's a very beautiful tourist destination. And it's a beautiful place to raise families and to get an education. So we are located in Sydney Mines, which is an old mining town. And Munro Academy began in 2009. There were a group of local families that were, seeing young people come to Christ in camp settings or other settings, but then going back into different school settings and not having kind of a critical mass of Christian support to disciple them in their faith and to help them grow in their faith. And there was a clear sense of calling to start a Christian school here on our island. And so that group of families got together and launched what became Munro Academy. Interesting enough, at the start, we started in a very small church building. We had 17 students, and quite a few of those students belonged to the families that started the school, as often happens with Christian schools. And the school has grown steadily, thanks be to God, since that point. So we now have just over 150 day school students and about 80 early learning center students and students from Cape Breton and around the world as well coming to Munro Academy.
Wow.
So it's been an amazing journey and really great to see, I guess, over and over again, the Lord's heart for young people, his desire to change culture and work through Christian schooling in that. Something else unique about the history of the school, we work with Catholic and Protestant staff, and we have a very clear Christocentric statement of faith. Mm-hmm. And within that, we have staff coming from diverse backgrounds, and it's really fun and powerful to work together. Really focusing on who Jesus is as teachers, as opposed to specific denominational distinctives. That's a really, I think, fun distinctive or important distinctive about Munro.
That's fascinating. Yeah, with all those different perspectives to kind of go into your school ethos. Very, very interesting there. And Sarah, could you maybe touch on, Doug did a great job talking about the history. Could you maybe touch on what does the culture of Munro Academy look like for the typical day or a typical student?
Yeah, sure. So we actually have two campuses at Munro Academy. So we have an elementary campus that's pre-primary up to grade 5, and then we have middle school, high school, and the early learning center here.
Oh, cool.
So both have their kind of unique culture, I would say. Doug and I both work here at the middle school, high school, and so I'll speak primarily about that. But both are marked by a lot of the same kind of traits, I'd say. So one of the main reasons a lot of our families choose Munro Academy is for the caring environment. So I would say the culture is one of like a high level of care for our students. There's a lot of joy and laughter and fun, a lot of great learning. We have an amazing staff, and they've all felt led by the Lord to be teaching here at this school. And like Doug mentioned, from different backgrounds, and just their heart for the students really creates the atmosphere of just a lot of love, and students, you can tell, feel comfortable here.
Mhm.
And so if you walk through the building and you see people, you'll see lots of people with their friends, and friends that are here from locally, and you'll see friends from all over the world. So it's also marked by kind of a diverse population, which is really special. So in my opinion, it's just an awesome place to work and an awesome place to go to school.
Awesome. Yeah. And Doug, would you add anything in regards to the culture piece of Monroe?
Yeah, I think Sarah did a great job outlining that. I think just to highlight what she said at the end about our international students and local students. So we've been committed from early on in the school to developing world changers. So students that can really engage well across cultures, have understanding of kind of where we are in the world and what God is calling us to. And our international student program has been a real blessing in that sense. So we have students coming from uh, mostly Asia, but around the world coming to Munro Academy, and around 30 to 40 students, depending how you would categorize where students are coming from. Yeah, coming from all over the world to beautiful Cape Breton Island. And the resulting set of relationships and friendships and kind of learning opportunities are just really rich and amazing and beautiful.
Very, very cool. Yeah, and I so for anyone who's listening, I have been to Monroe Academy twice before. I'm going in a couple weeks. I can't wait. I'm excited to come back and see the beautiful Cape Breton Island. And Doug, you did a great job. Given the tourist destination that people need. Everyone needs to go to Cape Breton. But one of the things that I appreciated about Monroe Academy is and again, I had never been to your school, but the first time I walked in, and you felt this. People say you feel a sense of community or things like that. You didn't just
Mhm.
sense it; you saw it. I saw because I came in on one of your chapel days, and
Yes.
you see students saving each other chairs at chapel, or organizing. You have your birthday celebrations or things like that, and it truly does you know look like a group of students who are learning and doing life together, and they're
Mhm.
guided by their teachers and authority figures that help run the school to it. And I appreciated every visit I've ever had to Monroe Academy, so I just wanted to say that as kind of a selfish plug for Monroe myself.
Well, thank you. We're
Thank
looking
you.
forward to having you come back.
Yeah. So one of the things in this series that I think is so important to highlight in this podcast series that we're doing is sometimes people think that Christian education is so separate from like public school or Catholic schools that and from the community that every Christian school is its own little island off on its own thing. But when I talk to the majority of Christian educators, that is far from what the reality is. And I would love if could you guys talk about how is Monroe Academy part of the community of Sydney, Nova Scotia?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we'll both take a stab at that. And I think I know we were asked recently by our umbrella organization, ACSI, by one of their speakers. He really challenged us and said, if your school were to shut down tomorrow, who in your community, outside of the families that you serve, who in the community would be aware of that and who would care? Like if the school, ceased to exist right away. In other words, how are we blessing the broader community that we're part of? How are we showing God's love in tangible ways? So I won't say that we have this all nailed, but we do think about this a lot, and we're prayerfully trying to do better on this front and trying to grow into this question: how do we bless the community? So I'll share a few things about this, and Sarah may have a few things to share as well. We recently became authorized as an international baccalaureate world school, and we specifically offer what's called the career-related program. And so part of that program is students completing placements in the workplace, in the broader community. And that's been a really great opportunity both for our students and for our community to kind of connect and realize that we're all here, and some really great learning opportunities for the students. So we've had this last year, we had students complete internships or placements at a local hospital, at a local seniors home, at a local architectural firm, at some different businesses, and at our daycare here as well.
Wow.
And so those are just great opportunities for students to be out in the community and connecting and learning a lot about what different jobs are like, and also hopefully blessing people in the community. I think the second area I want to touch on is we do have a fully licensed early learning center, a Christian early learning center here on site. And as I mentioned before, there's about 80 students, 80 children that are part of that. And we just went through a major renovation with the province with that. And so the total capacity, once we're all up to capacity, it'll be just under 120 children.
Wait. It's a daycare center with 80 kids in it?
Yes, yeah. And the
Wow.
total capacity will be, when it's all ramped up, around just under 120 children at the daycare. And so part of what that means is a high percentage of the children, the young children, so this would be infants, toddlers, and preschoolers in our local community, which is Sydney Mines and North Sydney, will come through this daycare. And it is a Christian daycare. It is provincially funded. And we've been very clear that even though we are provincially funded, we still deliver Christian worldview content at an age appropriate kind of manner to the children. And so that's just, there's a big demand for that service. And
Absolutely.
it's a really important connecting point as these parents and these children walk through our doors each day, and we get to connect with them. And so I hope that's the way that we're blessing the community, or at least connecting really well with the community.
Yeah, childcare is a huge need in every community across Canada. That you're directly providing that. Do you mind me asking, so what would the age group be of the kids in that center?
Yeah, great question. So infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. So starting at 6 months of age is the youngest that children could come. For the most part, they come at 1 year or after 1 year. So most families are opting, and we certainly applaud this, to have that first year together as a family. And then a lot of times the mom or the dad both want to go back to work, and so they'll place their children then. And then it runs up through 5 years old, but a lot of students will be with us through 4 or 5 years old, and then go off to pre-primary after that.
Wow, that's fantastic. Wow. And just one more follow-up question to that is, and Sarah kind of touched on this a little bit, but if you could expand on it, is what's it like having a high school and essentially a daycare in the same building?
Yeah, it's awesome. So there's a couple.
It is.
There's a couple opportunities. The kind of tangible opportunity is our high school students can take what we call community studies coursework, where they actually serve in the ELC. They're there, serving with the educators in the ELC, at the Early Learning Center, helping the kids on the playground and so on, and learning what it's like to be an educator. And they can earn a high school credit or several high school credits through that process. The less tangible part, but probably more important part, is the student body. So at our chapel services or at our assemblies, for a fair number of them, the Early Learning Center children will come into the start and sing the worship songs with us,
Cool.
and kind of be hanging out there up front. And also you get all the parents and the children at the start of the day, at the end of the day, walking through the main hall that we all walk through and connecting. We have some sibling groups at the school. And so it's just this, it changes the feel. It feels more, I think, like a family, and perhaps less like an institution because of that.
I'd say, adding on to that, Doug, the cuteness factor in the building.
Yes.
Way up. So cute.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah. Gotta get
Yeah, I've got a couple other things that I can add just with the
absolutely.
community involvement. One that I just thought of is the summer day camps, actually, that we run at Falls Creek, our other campus.
Yeah.
Actually, one of our former students who graduated a few years ago, she's taking early childhood in university. And so she's been running day camps there. So that's a great opportunity for families. And actually, when I'm out in the community, a lot of times when I mention Munro Academy, they'll say, "Oh, my cousin went to one of the camps in the summer," right? So we're providing childcare for families in the summertime, and it is a great intro to the school as well. So that's one. Another one is our athletics program. So over the past few years, we've really been expanding our sports teams, and thinking of our middle school girls volleyball team, our high school girls volleyball team. We've got boys soccer, basketball, badminton, table tennis. So obviously when you're playing sports, you have to play against other teams.
Yep.
So we're out in the community. Sometimes we're winning, sometimes we're losing, but either way, we're out there having fun. And I think a lot of times when we are competing, I've had other parents talk to me and say, "Wow, your team seems like they're so like they're close," kind of getting back to that community feel that you talked about. And we'll often have lots of great parents that know each other as well, so that community feel, I think, is out there. So, but it's a great chance to interact with all the other schools, right? And so that's been really awesome. And one other one I'll mention is there's a local Christian organization called Souls Harbor. It's literally I'd say a 5-minute walk away. They just opened up. And we've been partnering with them to take a group of students each week to serve there. So what they do, they serve a lunch to anyone there in the community that's needing food. They've recently started taking donations. So they're setting up for clothing and just basic necessities that people need. So our students have a chance to go there and serve each week. And that's been really positive for both parties involved. And one other thing we like to do is have as many kind of guest speakers, people in our school, and take our students out on field trips. Or I teach personal finance, for example, and we'll walk down to the local credit union here each time I teach it, and we'll meet with them. In a math class, we go down to the local grocery store and we're checking how much bananas cost. So any opportunities that we can take to get our students in the community or have the community come to us, we just love it, and the students love it as well.
Thank you. So I have a follow up there on a few things. The first one,
Sure.
the day camp. I have to ask because it's pretty common for schools to have their facilities used as a day camp during the summer. But are you saying like it's one of your student, like, does Munro Academy, like, do you guys put on the day?
Yes, it's a Munro Academy day camp. And one of our students, her name's Katie Murphy. She graduated a few years ago and she's just amazing. And so she's overseeing it with, we're also the overseeing, but she's the one on the ground and she has a staff that she has there and she's doing a fantastic job. So it's been great.
And most of the staff are students from the school as well. So that's been a real value add for the students. Yeah.
I've never heard of that. That's fantastic. That your school is you're not just, because it's pretty common for schools to like rent out your facility or something like that to a day camp group or something, but to actually step up and say, no, hey, here's a need in the community during the summer. We're gonna, within our kind of school circle, we're gonna staff this and figure out how to provide this service to our community. That's fantastic. Yeah. And then in regards to Sarah, you mentioned your personal finance class going to like the grocery store and things like that. I know the term we use at Redeemer a lot is experiential learning. Is that kind of the method for that? Is, okay, we're not just going to teach you personal finance. We're going to go and we're going to learn about it in practice.
Absolutely. Right? Yes. And I'd say the students love it, right? They love it. And you do practically learn things when you get out and see actually how much does something cost or how does a bank work? And you get to talk to, or the students love, I bring in a investment specialist and they just love to hear about that. So yes, it's awesome for everybody.
That's fantastic. Oh, that's so exciting. Kind of moving on here, and again, I thank you so much for everything you guys have shared already. But what about we've talked a lot about Sydney, but could you maybe, and I know Nova Scotia is a lot bigger place than people realize. So you are kind of speaking to all Nova Scotians here, but how would you say the state of Christian education is in Nova Scotia or Canada in general?
I would say that for Nova Scotia, and from what I'm aware of for Eastern Canada, in terms of enrollment, in terms of kind of the state of the schools, this is the strongest that I've ever seen in the time that I've been involved in Christian education. There seems to be a really deep and strong interest across Nova Scotia, across Eastern Canada, possibly across all of Canada for for Christian education, and in some cases coming from Christian families, in some cases coming from families that aren't from Christian backgrounds but are hungry for the community, the kind of moral framework, and the level of care and expertise is provided in Christian education. And I remember, early years, my own early years in Christian education, sitting with other principals and talking about how challenging things were, and there are still challenges, but again, the level of interest and enrollment levels and kind of the quality of programming that's resulting from that is, I think, the highest that I've seen in my time anyway.
Yeah, and I would definitely agree with Doug on that. He's been around Christian education a little longer than I have, but it certainly feels like there are a lot of families looking for an alternative, and because of, like Doug mentioned, the values, the high level of care, the strong academics, and just a different environment. And so, yeah, I think it's a great time to be in Christian education.
I think it's a great time as well, both locally and internationally. So we talked about international students coming to our school, but that's the case in all kinds of schools across the country. And as a Christian school specifically, we have this great opportunity. A lot of our international students at our school, and I think a lot of schools in Christian schools, the international students are not necessarily coming because it's a Christian school, and they may not even be, entirely aware of, they see the name there, but they're not really aware of what that's going to involve.
Yeah.
They come and they realize they end up learning a lot about who Jesus is, what a Christian community looks like, and what an amazing opportunity for us, as Christian educators.
Absolutely. Oh, this is fantastic. Well, I do want to be respectful of your time, but just to kind of close us off here, for anyone watching this who's in the Sydney, Nova Scotia area and considering Munro Academy, what would you guys tell them? Obviously come for a visit. You can't miss that. But what information would you want to tell anyone who's interested in possibly sending their kids to Munro Academy?
I think definitely the visitation day is super important, and just being on the ground and meeting the teachers and meeting students is super important. So that what is the community like? What does it feel like here? And our hope is that we're presenting Jesus well, and we certainly have seen that happening in the school. But come and experience that in person. Come and see what the school feels like, and we'd love to open our doors and make that happen.
Absolutely. And I would say too, there's something else I thought of. Twice a year, we have a bring a friend to school day.
Oh.
And students are welcome to just bring a friend. We always schedule it on a day that the public schools have professional development days. So that's another opportunity for people if they just want to come for a day and kind of a no pressure situation. That'd be a great day to come on in and see what it's all about.
That's a genius idea. Did you guys come up with that?
No.
Yeah.
No, I hadn't heard. Okay, I'm new. I learned something.
Okay, yeah. We've been doing it for a few years, and it's just really fun too. And it's another. I always say anytime we can get someone in or we can go out, let's do it. And it's been really nice to have people come in, and our students like it too, right, for the day.
So even though your school is on an island, you make sure your school is not an island, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, well said. Yeah.
Wow, there's our next banner. Yeah.
Well, Sarah and Doug, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming on the Redeemer podcast and representing Nova Scotia in this series as we journey through the different provinces across Canada, talking to Christian education professionals. And if you are watching this, we'll have the contact for Munro Academy in the description below. You can go check out their website. And I'm assuming it's okay if other Christian professionals want to talk to you guys, they can contact you that way. And
absolutely,
be great.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on today's episode.
Thank you so much, Zach.
Zach, thank you so much for having us. And again, we love Redeemer. I love personally and professionally what I see happening with you at Redeemer. It looks like a really great university. And thank you for all your hard work there too.
Oh, thank you very much. We appreciate that. And we're happy to be partnering with Munro Academy to encourage Christian education across Canada. If you are watching this, thank you so much for making it part of your day. God bless, and we will see you in the next episode of the Redeemer Podcast.